Hello, in this lesson we will learn about parallelograms. The learning goals are: first, understand how quadrilaterals are classified. Second, understand what parallelograms are and the properties of some special parallelograms, which are going to be the rectangle, the rhombus, and square. So quadrilaterals are polygons with 4 sides. We have 3 types of quadrilaterals. Parallelograms have 2 pairs of opposite sides that are parallel and congruent. So this side here and this side here are opposite to each other, and they are going to be parallel to each other, and they are going to be congruent to each other. Same with these 2 sides here. They are opposite to each other, they are parallel to each other, and they are congruent to each other. There are 3 types of parallelograms: the square, the rectangle, and the rhombus. Another quadrilateral we will see in future lessons is the trapezoid, which has 1 pair of sides that are parallel to each other. So these 2 sides are opposite to each other and they are parallel to each other. But these 2 ones are not parallel to each other. Okay? So there is only 1 pair of opposite sides that are parallel. And the kite basically has no parallel sides. So let's focus on parallelograms now. Again, a parallelogram is a quadrilateral in which the opposite sides are parallel and congruent. Here we have this representation of a parallelogram, and we use arrows to indicate parallelism. Basically, if you see 2 segments with the same number of arrows, that says that those 2 segments are parallel to each other. So this side here and this side here of the parallelogram are going to be parallel to each other because each one has 1 arrow, and this side here and this side here are also parallel to each other because each one has 2 arrows. On the other hand, tick marks are used for congruency. So the same number of tick marks indicate congruency between segments. So this segment and this segment, each one has 1 tick mark, therefore they are congruent to each other. And this segment and this segment, each one has 2 tick marks, therefore they are congruent to each other. Now let's focus on angles in parallelograms. A parallelogram is a quadrilateral in which opposite angles are congruent and same side angles are supplementary. So right here we have a parallelogram. We're going to draw arrows on top of the sides, just like that. Now, in a previous video labeled Parallel Lines and Transversals, I explained that when you have 2 lines that are parallel to each other and they are cut or intersected by a transversal, several angles are generated, and those angles are going to be the same. Let's go into this particular example. Let's say that this angle is 60 degrees. The opposite angles is going to be 60 degrees. This angle here has to be 120 degrees because this total has to be 180, right? And this vertical angle, opposite angle to 120, is also 120 degrees. All right? So now, again, as I mentioned in the previous video, I explained that when you have 2 parallel lines and they are intersected or cut by a transversal, you generate the same angles here and here. Since these 2 lines are the same as, it's a projection, right? It's the same line, and these 2 are parallel to each other, these angles and these angles are also going to be the same. Now, let's eliminate all the external angles and let's focus only on the interior angles. So the interior angles, as we see, are going to be congruent when they are opposite to each other. Okay? So opposite angles in a parallelogram are congruent to each other. Now, let's go into diagonals. In a parallelogram, the diagonals bisect each other, meaning they cut each other in half. So we have one diagonal and another diagonal. So this diagonal here is going to cut this one in half. So this portion and this portion are going to measure the same, and vice versa. This diagonal is also going to bisect this other diagonal. You see, this segment and this segment are congruent. They measure the same. So let's go into special parallelograms now. There are three special parallelograms we're going to focus. The square, which has 4 right angles and 4 congruent sides. The rectangle, which has 4 right angles, and the rhombus that has 4 congruent sides. So here they are asking what type of parallelograms are A and B. So for letter A, we see that it has to be a rhombus because all sides are congruent, right? But the angles are not 90 degrees, therefore it cannot be a square, so it's gotta be a rhombus. Okay? Now, for the other figure, the one in B, we see that the sides are not congruent, all the sides are not congruent, therefore it cannot be a rhombus, it cannot be a square. And the angles are congruent. This double line here, here, and here indicates that all 4 angles are the same. Therefore, we know that this is a rectangle, because if all angles are the same in a quadrilateral, when you add all angles, they add up to 360 degrees. And if we divide that by 4, each angle should be 90 degrees. Okay? And that's the property of a rectangle, right? It's a parallelogram, a quadrilateral, that has 4 90-degree angles, right? And that's all the sides are not the same. So we see that this is 9, this is 5. Okay, so this one is a rectangle. Now, let's go into other properties of these parallelograms. For the square and for the rectangle, the diagonals are congruent. So this diagonal and this diagonal are going to measure the same, and this diagonal and this diagonal are going to measure the same. They are congruent. But the rhombus doesn't have congruent diagonals. We can see that this one is longer than this. However, their diagonals are perpendicular to each other. So when they intersect, they form 90-degree angles. Okay? And that's an important property of diagonals in a rhombus. Now, another property of the rhombus is that the diagonals bisect each angle. So you see this diagonal here is cutting this angle in half. So this angle and this angle are going to be the same. And because opposite angles are congruent in all parallelograms, this angle and these angles are also going to be the same to each other and to these ones here. Same with this one, right? This angle and this angle are going to be the same, and this angle and this angle are also going to be the same. So all these 4 angles are the same, and all these 4 angles are the same. Okay? So that's a property of the rhombus. And with that, we have concluded this presentation. Thank you very much for the attention.